Hey guys, welcome to the Generational Guardians podcast. Today we're talking about the power of protein and weightlifting for aging parents. Why should you encourage your parents to increase their protein intake and lift weights? You may be asking that question right now because it's going to affect long-term their quality of life. It's going to affect their strength, their mobility, their functionality, how they live day to day. It's going to affect all the things that add to a quality of life experience. And I know that if you are an adult caregiver, you want that for your parents. If you have aging parents, that you want that for your parents. We all want them to age as well and healthy as possible. And this is the way that you can help them do it, by encouraging them to eat more protein and to lift weights. And the main reason is it will maintain muscle mass and it will build muscle mass. Can we build muscle mass the same in our 60s as we did in our 20s? We cannot. I mean, we just can't. But can we? Absolutely. Because aging often leads to a decline in muscle mass. It does. Research shows that by the age of 30, when we hit our 30s, we begin to lose muscle mass to the tune of 3 to 5% every decade. And that's a lot. I'm not a mathematician, but that's a lot. And then research shows that when we hit 65, it's even more at a more rapid rate for some people. So we want to build muscle, but we also want to maintain the muscle that we already have. So it doesn't matter where you're starting from today or where your parents are starting from today, 50, 60, 70, 80, it doesn't matter. You're never too old to start building and maintaining that muscle mass that you already have. But the sooner the better, obviously, with anything, right? And what happens, and it's just, I guess it's common sense, when we lose muscle mass, then we lose mobility, we lose strength, and we become weaker. And that's when we start to have issues. So, for example, when you lose that muscle mass, you're an aging parent, then you begin to not be able to do those activities of daily living as easily. So dressing yourself in and out, getting in and out of the bed, up and down from your couch, bathing, toileting, cooking, cleaning, all the things that we take for granted. But as we age, if we don't maintain our muscle mass and we're not doing anything to build it, then we are going to experience weakness. And that is one of the big things as a result of loss of muscle is weakness. And falls are one of the biggest consequences, unfortunately, of that. People just can't catch themselves, they're off balance, and then they break their bones. And I found in doing research for this episode that 350,000 people annually, every year in the United States, fracture their hips. And that's only hip fractures. That doesn't count any other kind of fractures. And I thought, wow, that is a lot of people breaking a hip every year here in the States. So why is that? Because they're losing that muscle mass, and then when they fall, they have no protection. So we want to get our parents to a point where be proactive, preventative, do the things now, eat the protein, do the weights, do the resistance training, so you can avoid those things with your parents. Just like I couldn't avoid with my dad because he was skinny. He fell and just broke that hip like nobody's business. And if, I had things, if I could do it over, I would have him eat more protein and do weights or do resistance training. We would be doing that as a family. And they would do it because I asked them to. And oftentimes, I know our parents give us pushback because they don't want us trying to parent them. But I think if you can explain to them, hey, here's why we're doing it. Here's why we're doing it. Here's what can happen if we do it. Here's what can happen if we don't do it. So are you on board with us? Let's do this. And hopefully they agree. I found a study, guys, when I was doing research, and this company did I forget what the name of the research company was, but they looked at 1-year mortality rates for people who broke their hip. And the people who had broken their hip, had surgery, the 1-year mortality rate was 21%. If they fractured their hip but did not have it repaired, the mortality rate was 70%. I knew the mortality rates for people that are older that break their hips was high, but 70% and even 21%. That's a high number. My dad lived almost 2 years after he broke his hip. One day I'd love to share his story with you. It was a roller coaster ride for all of us, but I would love for you guys to be able to glean some things from that as well. Things that we did right that you could glean, and things that we didn't do so well that maybe you could avoid, and love to share that with you at some point. So just know that you guys are never too old. You may be sitting here even listening to this as a 70-year-old parent who lives alone. You're doing great. Everything's firing on all cylinders. You're doing awesome, and that's great. But you may be thinking, hey, Pam, I'm 75. I'm too old. I'm too old to turn back the hands of time. Well, we're not asking you to turn back the hands of time. We're just asking you to eat more protein and do some resistance type training or weight training to maintain what you have so you can stay active and to maybe gain some more muscle and increase that bone density. We'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. So let me share a clinical trial that I found. There were multiples, actually, where they took older adults and even some very frail 75-year-old adults, male and female, and for 8 weeks, they did some progressive resistance training twice a week. And at the end of those 8 weeks, they had significant gain in mobility and strength. They did notice muscle mass increase. So don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it, that you're too old, because that is not true. You can do it. We just have to start. So start today. Get on board the protein and weightlifting train, and let's do it. Let's live long, healthy lives, because I think it is exciting that you and I, our parents, have control of some of these things. We don't just have to say, well, I'm 68. It's just part of life. I'm just going to get thinner and weaker as it goes. We don't have to have that mentality. We can have the mentality of, I want to live as long as I can, but I want to have high quality of life. And if eating more protein and lifting weights helps me to do that, I'm getting on the train. I'm getting on the train. So guys, it's a win-win. Protein, weightlifting, it's a win-win. Let's look just for a minute at protein. Why is protein crucial? Well, for one thing, it helps with our metabolism and kind of balances our weight. It's satiating. It keeps us full longer. It's actually one of the greatest macronutrients available out there for us and our bodies. It just burns more calories when we're eating more protein. So again, it's satiating. It promotes feelings of fullness. And it kind of, personally for me, if I eat the amount of protein that I need to eat daily, I don't snack and I'm not always thinking about food. It does satiate you and keep you from wandering around in the kitchen to see what's in the cupboards. Anybody out there do that? Do you ever search the cupboards and hope you don't find something, but kind of deep in your heart, hope that you do? Yeah, that's me. So again, one of the main reasons is for doing this, for doing weights or resistance training, eating more protein, quality of life. That's huge. Another benefit to doing the exercising and eating well is a mental health boost. It's a mood booster when you work out. How many of you guys out there have ever gone, you didn't want to go to the gym, or you didn't want to make it to the yoga class, or you didn't even want to do the in-home activity that you have in maybe your home gym or whatnot, and you were just dreading getting there or getting started. But once you did, you were felt great. You were energized. Maybe you had some aches and pains and they went away. There is a real benefit from a mental health standpoint. You get that boost from doing that. And it also helps us cognitively. It helps our memory. Doing exercises like the resistance training and the weights, and you're doing different things that maybe you're not used to. You do different routines or different, you do this one day and then a day later you do something different. It's that neuroplasticity, your brain, you're working your cognition. It's adapting. It's making adjustments. And that's really good because we want to be mentally fit just like we want to be physically fit. And we talk about that quite a bit on here. We just want that. And it helps with that giving you a sharper mental acuity, if you will. So just to recap, we want to maintain and increase our muscle mass. And how do we do it? By eating more protein and lifting weights or doing the resistance training. It does the same thing. And that will lead, hopefully, to a longer life for your aging parent where they can do all those things, the activities of daily living. But not only that, they can be happy and they can go on vacation with the family. They can go visit friends. They can go to church. They can do whatever. If they snow ski, if they hike, for as long as possible, we want them to have that quality of life, to have those experiences with you and your family, with their grandkids, all the things. So that's why we want to encourage them to eat more protein and do the weights. I do want to leave you with a couple of things. Safety considerations. Please be careful if you do the weights and not the resistance training with the bands. Make sure you get a personal coach or you join a gym or you do it with a family member that knows what they're doing, because you do not want to injure yourself. We want to do it for the benefit. We do not want to harm ourselves. And always consult your physician if you change your diet or if you're changing your routine. It's just always good to have a chat with them, because this is not medical advice. It's just educational, for educational purposes only. My goal through this podcast is to share with you guys information that I find that helped me with my parents as we went through our journey together, that were beneficial. Also to share things that were not beneficial so that you avoid those things, and to find new information that can help you, again, be proactive and prevent things. Or if you're at the beginning stages, all the way through the process, I want to be here for you guys as a community, so we can come together, be supportive through this process, because it is a journey and it's not always an easy journey. So remember, talk to mom and dad and share with them why they should eat more protein, why they should do the weights or do the resistance training. I think when you explain it to them, why it's important for them, I think they'll be on board with you guys to do that. So thanks for listening or watching. If you watch the video podcast, thank you. I appreciate it. You guys take care, and always remember to try to enjoy the journey, and we'll see you in the next one.